Hello YouTube, what's going on? Shane 2K here with a very special guest. She attended Wisconsin Green Bay and her name is Laken James. She's the first woman to be interviewed on this channel. How's it going, Laken?
It's going really well. How are you?
I'm great. So how have you been holding up during this entire global pandemic thing?
It's been a little weird. It was difficult. So I'm currently in Germany. So the process to get from the United States to Germany was a little different than normal, obviously with the pandemic. But after a few signed papers and approval to come to Germany and become a resident, things have been rather smooth now that I've been here.
That's awesome. And so as you know, obviously, when I'm saying this, you grew up in, I'm definitely going to butcher the name of it, Oconto, Wisconsin. How different?
That was perfect. No, that's
Ah,
good.
okay. How much different was that from, where you are right now? How much of a parallel is there between that and Germany?
Oh man, so Okano is like a town of 4,000 people, so it's tiny. I graduated with I think like 65 kids, so it's really small. It's your typical northern city in Wisconsin, energy and vibe to it. So Germany's a little bit different. I'm actually like 20 minutes outside of Frankfurt, which is one of the bigger cities in Germany. So it's kind of like I say, a rich little suburb that I get to play in. So it's completely different. European lifestyle is different in general from like the United States, but comparing to where I grew up, it's really different.
No, and that's awesome. I actually take a German class, so I'm kind of imagining where you are. I can speak
Oh,
barely any
cool.
German, so when I heard you played in Germany, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm taking a German, like, your very intro to German class right now, and it's so difficult.
It's people say it besides Latin, because Latin's
Right.
terrifying. It's the toughest language.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's more so. I mean, I can remember like what the words are, but when I comes to like actually pronouncing them, I butcher it every time.
And everything's so mean in that language.
Right.
Every word. But
Yeah.
but like I said, you attended Wisconsin Green Bay, and that you played there. I think it was 5 years because you redshirted your first season. I might be off about the year.
Nope. Yep, that's right.
So how is the playing level compared to the NCAA and playing overseas for the Hamburg Falcons?
Yeah. So it's. I would say it's comparable at times, but yet it's very different. In college, especially at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay, we played very systematic, and we were really good at it. So it's a very team-oriented program, and it's very fluid in that sense. And I would say overseas, there's more freedom, and it's a faster-paced game because it's less systematic. That's just comparing my specific college program to where I am now. Um, if other colleges are more one-on-one and that nature and that style, it might not be very different. But for me individually, that's the biggest difference for me because now I have a lot more freedom and the game is a lot faster in that sense.
No, and I've talked to other college athletes. They would say about the same who've played overseas as well. Um,
Yeah.
it's like they run a certain system in college, which a lot of colleges run a system that because that makes it kind of easier on the players. But once you get to that overseas, it'll be more freedom, like you said. So
Yeah, definitely.
in college, you wore the number 5, or now in Germany, you probably get yelled at Fünf. I just want to know, was there a big reasoning behind the number 5?
Actually, yeah, well, not a big reasoning, but when I was growing up, all through like elementary and middle school, I was always number 23. I think like a lot of kids growing up, it was Michael Jordan's
Uh
number.
huh.
It's just, it's the popular number. And then when I got to high school, someone already had it. So being the smart little 14-year-old that I was, I just added 2 and 3 and I got 5 and it's stuck ever since.
I love that so much. That reminds me of like Kyrie because he was number 2 in Cleveland. And I think it was taken on the Celtics, so he was 11 because 1+1. So
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
I actually love that. No one has given me a reasoning behind their number. Usually it gets cut and they're like, nope, no reasoning. I'm like, all right. So even before you went overseas to play, you've always been a big traveler because I can see your Instagram. Where was the
Yeah.
best place that you've traveled to?
Oh man. Yeah, that is hard. I spent quite a bit of time traveling Europe actually before I went professionally. I would say I took like a 3-day train through the Alps, and I would say that experience alone, like, it was just beautiful. Every hour that you traveled, you got different angle, different views of the Alps. So it was less about the specific destination. So it's not like I have a city name for you, but I mean, we stopped at small villages along the way, and just that whole ride, that whole experience was really, really surreal.
No, and that's an awesome answer. Like I wasn't expecting you to say that, but I love that.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
That's awesome. So I did a deep dive on your Instagram, and I wanted to know your mindset with some of the captions because I love all of them. So
Okay.
the first one you said July this year. I'm pretty sure all of them are this year. Feed your faith, starve your doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to hear what you have to say about that. Like, cause I love it, but like, I just want to hear like your mindset behind some of these.
Yeah, no. I would say for myself, I love the game of basketball, but I have found that more so my passion is kind of in the mental training part of it. And between reading books, listening to podcasts, doing research like that on my own, that's something that I, as an athlete, try to really focus on. I try to focus on training that myself and helping others as well, especially on my own team or my own program. I want to be able to help others. And I would say for the most part, just kind of going off of that caption, I saw that quote one time when I was doing like some research, and I was like, I love that. It's like, don't have any doubts within yourself and just be confident. So I think I just came across that quote and I really liked it.
No, and I love it. And also, I'm hearing like a little bit of like the Wisconsin accent with the you knows, but
I have gotten that a lot in Germany, and it's funny because they don't even know, like the U.S., like, they're like, you talk different. I was like, yeah, I know.
no, because no, I've heard a lot of people with the accent, so it freaks you out at first, but then the only thing you always notice is when they say you know. So another quote you said that, and this one was my personal favorite. Maybe it's not about the happy ending. Maybe it's about the story. And I've seen this quote before, and I've like kind of lived by it. I've almost captioned that on Instagram. So
Yeah. Well, that one was just perfect timing, perfect fitting. My season ended early last year. My first professional season ended early because of the pandemic. So therefore, we didn't even get to play playoffs, and we had really high expectations. We tied for first in the league, so we were really excited for playoffs and the playoff run that we could potentially have made. And I think that it was a big shock and a big disappointment. But then when I had time at home to reflect, that quote fit perfect because I enjoyed my whole entire season, and it was less about, not fitting that situation or not fitting the goals at the end. And it was about the experience that I had. And I sat down and I really appreciated that part. So
no, and the pandemic really killed a lot of. Besides, if you played in the NFL, NBA, anything like that, you were fine. But if you played in anything else, like college, they all didn't get to play playoffs. All overseas didn't get to play playoffs, and it killed a lot of people's potential careers. A lot of people's careers ended without them having that like finishing moment. Like even Vince Carter in the NBA, his last game was on a day's notice. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I mean, for myself, I've been really fortunate that I had the opportunity to continue playing because I know some seniors, like you said, in college that all of a sudden they're done. I even look back at um, my conference, which was the Horizon League,
Yep.
and we had a school make it to the NCAA, and don't quote me, I'm not sure, but I think it was the first time ever, and then they didn't even get an opportunity to play. So, just really disappointing. So I'm fortunate that, I did miss playoffs, but my career's still going, so.
Yeah, and you're, like I said, one of the lucky ones, but, I'm in New Jersey, that's where I'm located, and Rutgers is obviously the big college, and for men's, they made the NCAA tournament for the first time in, I don't know how long, but everyone was so excited for it, and then obviously, but, there's not much you can do about it. It sucks, but. And then the last quote I have from you, this one's from way earlier in the year. So this is like pre-pandemic thinking on Laken's part. You have to find what sparks a light in you so that you in your own way can illuminate the world.
Yeah. I would say for that one, it kind of goes back to my desire to inspire and motivate younger athletes. And I think a big piece of that is finding your passion and finding out what gets you excited so that you can radiate that same energy outside to the world. And that's something for me I've found, even in my passion for basketball, but also like the mental side of sports. I'm definitely passionate about both of those, and being able to radiate that out and share that with other athletes and other people that might need that motivation. That's kind of my passion. So just looking to inspire others to do the same.
No, and I love how you put that because on your website, which it was so hard to find, but I found it. I'm going to link it in this video as well. You describe yourself as a creator. And I loved that you didn't say you were just a player, you're just this, you said a creator. And then you went into a big description of why you said that. But I want to hear from you. I'm going to put you on the spot why you'd say that you're a creator.
Okay, so no, I didn't really have a definition, I guess. When I sat down and I was creating my website, I wanted to create a platform, but I really had no idea in what purpose or why. And at the end of the day, I think it came down to I want to be able to create something and share it, but in that moment, that exact moment of doing so, I didn't know what. So it's not like I could put motivational speaker, or I couldn't put a label to it, because at the time I really didn't know. All I know is something's in the making, and I didn't want to hold back from creating a website because I didn't exactly know the purpose. So that's kind of, I guess, my reasoning behind creator, and I think I am looking to still continue doing that. And I've started writing my blog. I've played around with, I'm actually starting right now a new company, which I'll drop the name while we're here, but 5-Star Academy, and just really looking to use that as a mentorship program for younger athletes. And because of that, now I think I have more of a definition of what that word creator means. But to be honest, like in the time, it was because I know I'm creating something and I know I want to motivate and inspire, but I didn't know in what nature yet.
I love that, like, it's almost like a broader label that you're giving yourself, but this label could turn to anything. So you're not labeling yourself, but at the same time, you want to change people's lives in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's beautiful to me that you're not, honestly, most people, especially me, I would have been like, if I was in your shoes, I would have been like, professional basketball player, because that's just such like a catchy thing and it's so awesome to see. But like, I feel like you have a bigger meaning and you're not just looking for people to click your name. You want actually like I said, to change people's lives. And I absolutely love that. So I want to know, when did you originally fall in love with the game of basketball?
I would say probably third grade. Third grade is when I first started playing, I guess, competitively. We didn't really, because I went to a small school, so we didn't really have a third grade basketball team for girls, you know? So I actually had to play on the fifth grade team, and I competed, and after that, my parents were like, all right, she's obviously really into this, and we want to be able to make our own team. So fourth grade all the way until seventh grade, I think, my parents were my coach. So I think that kind of sparked my passion and just the idea of every time I went to the gym, like I went with my parents, and it was always so much fun. And okay, granted, there were some natural skills in the beginning, which as a kid is important because it keeps you interested, probably. But I had a desire to always get better. So I would say that's probably, it started way back when.
No, and I love that, and I can totally agree. Without that natural skill, it takes a really you need to have some grit to not have any me especially I have no skill at basketball naturally, and I know a lot of people some people even in the NBA Allen Iverson wasn't just naturally good, but he played hours every day. Same with Kobe. Same with most people in the NBA, and even some of them have natural skill. A lot of them have natural skill, and they still did that. But no, and I love to hear that. I mean, your parents being your coach has its upsides and downsides, but mostly more upsides than I'd say bad. But
Yeah.
having your parents be some of your biggest mentors, especially in the game of basketball, is a big one. But that was actually my next question. Who is your biggest mentor with basketball?
Yeah, I would say for me, the biggest mentor, it just kind of changes during your career because whatever step in your career you're in, you're surrounded by those people, right? So when I was in high school, I had a really great assistant coach and a fantastic AAU coach. He probably taught me, he was the reason I made it to college basketball because in my small community, it wasn't really, I mean, there wasn't Division I mindset in my community.
Mm.
So my AAU coach really projected me there. And then when I was at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay, my head coach, Kevin Borseth, he'll be a Hall of Fame coach. He's at, I think, 800 wins, 700 wins, but he's phenomenal. He took my knowledge for the game to a completely different level, and for that, I'll be able to use that knowledge, all throughout my career. So those are things that, you can't really duplicate that. So I'm really fortunate for those coaches that kind of helped me get to where I am.
No, and you're it's so lucky, and also it's a great thing. You totally deserved it, but it's so lucky to work with a mind like that of 800 wins. It's not
oh my gosh, yes.
people don't do that every day. It's if you were a bottom of the bench player for Phil Jackson, you're gonna be a greater player from that. Just because, but the mind of a great coach, even in high school, you can be a great coach. It's phenomenal for every player.
Absolutely, and it's exactly what you said. The kids that go through the program and get to play under Kevin Borseth, they're getting something that the smallest percentage of at least female athletes get during their career, because if you look at those Hall of Fame coaches, they're Hall of Fame coach for a reason. There's not many of them. So it's you play at a mid-major school for a Hall of Fame coach, it's pretty special.
You play anywhere for a Hall of Fame level coach. That's insane.
Exactly, yeah.
So one of my last questions, it's about women's sports. Now, a lot of women's sports get overlooked in high school and even younger, and even the WNBA, everything. So why do you think women's sports are so essential before professional level? So high school and stuff, why do you think they're so essential?
So I'll go from my feminist side, but it's definitely, it's growing, strong women. I think sports alone does so much for the mindset. I've said this a lot already, but our goal is to create strong people through sports by all the mental training, how to be a good leader, how to build your confidence, how to do all those non-tangible things. And I think for women especially, those younger programs coming all the way up to hopefully college, those are just life lessons that you're going through and you're getting ready for that next step. And I think the more girls that we get to play in these systems and these programs, the more we're going to see women in leadership roles in the business world and just our community as a whole. And I think because of that, that's why we really need to focus and motivate and inspire these kids to play sports. Because all too often, you look at all of your Fortune 500 companies, and it's like, how many women are actually in those leadership roles?
Mm.
And for not lack of anything other than we need to continue building and putting ourselves in the position to obtain those positions. So I would say it's really important.
No, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think women's sports are like I have a little sister, and there's been times when they can't make a team because there's not enough girls in town to want to do it. And you said you grew up in a small town, you kind of had the same problem when you were younger. So, I can totally relate to you on that.
Yeah.
And also, people will say, like, oh, I don't watch WNBA. There's no dunks. There's not this. WNBA has everything besides, dunks, really. And if you are only watching basketball for the dunks, I would say you just have, a short attention span. You need to be excited the whole time. Because I can watch. I'm a Liberty fan, unfortunately. I can watch the WNBA, and, if I get into it, I can get into it. I mean, obviously, I'd love to see you guys slam dunking, but it's fine, and it's almost more offensive because there's not just one big man just controlling everything. It's everyone's sort of at a level. I mean, besides Brittany Griner, because she's she's just a tank, but everyone feels like they're at a more level playing field, and that's incredible because you don't see many sports like that.
Yeah, and I mean, exactly what you said. Okay, get rid of dunking. It's the same exact sport. It's the same exact game schemes. It's the same actions. It's the same skill sets. There's no difference. And I think a lot of times you see, if you watch the game, like women's basketball, you see really refined skills because we have to refine our skills. What makes us savvy and what makes, it makes the difference between a college athlete and a professional athlete,
Yeah.
Because we're all going to basically jump the same. We're all, all of those things we're women. It's limited to a certain point. But besides that, I think the game and the knowledge, if you watch a WNBA game, it's fun. And they're playing good basketball.
Oh, 100%. And, you always see, compilations, they didn't score for this many minutes. You could say the same thing about the NBA. And NBA, they're just put on a greater stage, and I'll agree. I don't think it's because of the playing necessarily. I think, and I almost made a video on it, I think the WA is one of the most poorly ran things, and that's not any player's fault. That's not any owner of any team's fault. That's just how everything kind of fell into fruition. But, I'm hoping by the time I one day, if God allows it, have a daughter, because I'm going to get her in basketball. I'm hoping we can sit down and watch a WNBA game like it's a Sunday Night Football or anything.
Right, yeah.
I'm hoping it's bigger. I'm hoping you don't have to have a league pass just to watch it, because that's silly. And I'm hoping there still isn't, I've seen memes, there's this video on the internet of paint drying, literally paint drying. And someone said, this has more views than the average monthly viewers of a WNBA game. And they're not wrong because the views match up. And I'm just that's the most, it's not even that it's not true. That's the most insane stat ever. And that's the saddest stat. So I'm hoping one day in the future, 10, 20 years down the road, you can actually watch the WNBA. Kind of like how I see women's soccer kind of panning out. And I'm hoping it's just like watching a men's sport.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it comes back to we need to be able to show that for the younger generation. And it's just closing that gap between those two. The next generation up needs to see that so they feel that same motivation. Do they have a picture of Sue Bird hanging in their room like a young boy has a picture of LeBron? Maybe not. They probably have never been able to watch a WNBA game. That's unfair, so...
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think also the fact that you can turn on, like, especially living in New Jersey, you can, well, not the Knicks because the Knicks are god awful, but you can turn on like a Nets game or anywhere close in the area, and most of their games are televised. If unless you have a
Mhm.
league pass, you can rarely. I mean, YouTube is starting to endorse it because you can just watch on YouTube now, but you can rarely even watch like the championships for free.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's a
it's incredible. Hello.
yeah. Yep.
Oh, sorry. I thought you cut out. I was like, not again. This is a great question, but no, all good. Um, I usually I end with the same question every time, and I feel like you're the perfect person for this question because of how methodical you are with everything. I feel so. This has been a staple of all of my interviews in life. Not even. I mean, I don't think you're gonna take this in a basketball way at all. What do you want to be remembered for?
I would say when you look back at, if you say life, I guess, not even basketball, but I would just say a role model for the next generation. It doesn't have to even be sports, but I would love to be remembered as like a free spirit that was able to accomplish goals and dreams by hard work. But not only that, I want to be able to teach the next generation how to do the same. I would say that would be most ideal for me to be remembered that way.
I absolutely like. I've heard 11 different answers, and they're all unique in their own way. But that's, I mean, I can't say it's the most unique because I feel like you can't really judge uniqueness, really. But that's an incredible answer. I absolutely love it. Laken, it was a pleasure interviewing you. I mean, groundbreaking, history breaking. You're the first woman to be interviewed on a 600 sub channel, but no, I'm kidding. Um, but I mean, if there's anything you want to plug, like you were talking about that company before, I'm gonna link your website, your Instagram, everything I can in the description. But if there's anything you want to plug to end it, it's up to you.
Hey, sorry, you cut out there just for a little bit.
All right, sorry, I'll just repeat it. So it was a pleasure. I'm just gonna repeat it for the everything I said. So
Okay.
it was a pleasure interviewing you. Groundbreaking for my channel. You were the first woman interviewed. You're not gonna be the last. And if there's you were talking about the company before, and I'm gonna link your website, your Instagram, everything I can down below. So if there's anything you want to plug, you can also send me links to put in. But if there's anything you want to plug to kind of end this, you're more than welcome to.
I won't even say like specifically, but just in general of, really looking to as athletes, and if you have athletes listening to this, just give back to the generation that's coming up next, because as awesome as it is for our personal success and where we are right now, it's the next generation that we need to help.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Thank you again, Laken. It was an incredible interview again. An honor to interview you. You're such for only being in your 20s, you're such you're so wise. And like a 17-year-old saying that probably doesn't, it doesn't mean too much, but like you really talk like you're in your 80s with the amount of like knowledge you have.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. I don't know. I know I'm only 25, so it's hard to say like the next generation when like some people would consider me that generation.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, I see the 10-year-old girls that look up to you, and maybe it's something because I came from a small community and now I'm in Germany playing professional basketball. So I guess there's no dream like too big, and I guess that's the message that I really want to be able to share and motivate the next young girl that's going to go on and play basketball.
100%. I loved how you ended that. There's no dream too big. Guys, that was Laken James. It was an incredible interview. Check out her Instagram, her website, everything down below. That's all, guys. Everybody stay safe. Stay peaceful. Peace out.